Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I'm Robbie.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to the table. Super excited to have you guys here for episode 39. 39.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, dude. Okay. Man, how you doing today, Jason?
I'm doing well, man. I am packing up and getting ready to go to Tennessee and hang out with you on a disc golf course. Selling disc or just having fun with the guys.
We are all just super hopeful that it is going to be dry and not rainy. Because I was thinking about that green carpet, Jason, and I was thinking about the first year that we did MCO and you had that carpet, you threw it down, and we were like, all right, this is fine. And then I remember when we pulled that carpet up at the end of, or like the whole thing, and just the disgustingness that existed underneath, and I'm like,
yeah, we'll find out.
That's MCO to me.
Yeah, we have new tarps to go underneath it, so we'll see. And if we got to toss those tarps again this year, like that's what we're going to do. So, yeah, I mean, the first year of MCO was Elizabeth flew down. Like I was there the first day, and then Elizabeth flew down that night, and it was just we had no walls at the time. I don't know if you remember that or not. Like I was buying tarps. I went to Lowe's like every night to get more stuff because we didn't have all the stuff we have now. And we were slowly pulling the tables in. There was a point where it was like just enough space for me and Elizabeth to sit side by side, freezing because it was cold rain. I don't know if you remember how cold that rain was, right? It was freezing cold rain there. Yeah, good stuff, but it's cold. Well, because you caddied for Brody on that one, right?
That was the year I caddied for Brody. Yeah.
Right. But those first 2 days were just so cold and so I just remember just shivering and being so cold in there. But now we thankfully have walls, we have tarps, we have all these things I've learned over the years, all the vending I'm doing for Foundation. So Elizabeth just came by and waved at you. So sorry for those who listen to my podcast. My beautiful wife just walked by. So by the way, I need you on there. I need to apologize to Lindsay because I didn't really talk to Lindsay at all during the Birdie fam. And I didn't really even go see Leo because when she brought Leo out, it was just a lot of going on. So I don't want Lindsay probably didn't realize that, but I felt really bad later on for not actually going and talking to Lindsay and meeting Leo because, it was so much going on at that lunch break that I didn't do that. And Elizabeth actually got on to me and she was right. So please apologize to Lindsay for me not coming and saying hey to her when she came out there. So.
Hey, I certainly will, but I promise she puts on a bold face for Takeover to come out and be like, hey, I'm an extrovert. I can do this. People, it's just like, nah, babe, you tried. You did a good job. Yep. You tried. So, Jason, what games have you been playing lately, man?
I have played a lot. For a little behind the scenes, it's actually been, if you pay attention, like we didn't drop an episode last week because Robbie had his get together in Birmingham last weekend, and we all needed to recover from that. So we're actually dropping this a week later. So I've had a few weeks to play games. I played a ton of games. I just want to list them because they're big ones. Because we're taking a pause from Fantastic February, but these games were part of it. I played Scythe. I played Dune Imperium, Dinosaur Island, Role Player, like these big heavy games. However, I'm gonna highlight 3 games today. One is Mistborn. I shot you and John some photos the other day. I finally got to use the 3D printed coins, metal coins and it was awesome. Those coins are amazing. They feel so good. They look so good. Mistborn is the third time I played Mistborn, and it was me, Elizabeth, and Ryder, not as part of Fantastic February, but just to play. And it was fun. Like having played it more, I like trying different things. I play games to have fun, which sounds silly, but is really true. I try to just do different things in them. Not to say I wasn't trying to win, because I was definitely trying to win this one. Fantastic February, I'm kind of backing off so my kids can try to win a little bit. They don't listen to the podcast, so I can say these things. It's okay. But Ryder, each time he's played, has done like a different tactic as well. And he basically played the speed game. So in Mistborn, we've talked about briefly before, but there's 3 ways to win. You can either eliminate every other player, be last man standing. There's a specific card that you can do one really cool big thing on that's really, really hard to do. I've only seen the card actually come out once, and no one got it because it was so early. It just wasn't worth it at the time. And then the third thing is there's these 3 tracks that you're basically, I think they're called experience tracks, where you're playing cards to go up and do stuff. And Ryder just hit the races fast with that. And once he took off, like, there's no catching back up. Like, I had a card that could try to take some of those away. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to play that. I'm going to try to eliminate everybody game, because I had the ability to continue to give myself health. And so I literally held onto the target the whole time. The cool thing about this game is that it's, if you in a 3 or 4 player game, there's a target that someone starts the game with, and whenever someone attacks, you can only attack that one person. But if that person has the target, their attacks hit everybody. But on your turn, if you're attacking, you can only hit the person with the target. So if you hang on to the target, you're attacking everybody else every single time. So I had a really good health engine, a really attack engine going. But it was pretty clear halfway through the game that like Ryder's racing fast, and I was trying to knock out some of his health. He got it back. He had fun, so it was fun. It was actually a fairly quick game. Not that Mistborn takes too long, though. John did tell me y'all's first time took like 3 hours or something like that as you kind of figured it out.
So long, dude. So long.
It is because there's so many nuances in it, and trying to figure those things out can definitely take some time. Because even when I first played it, there weren't any really good how to play videos out there. There was some high level things. There wasn't like Rodney Smith with Watch It Played, so I had to kind of nuance it out. And then 2 other games. Caleb Jones, fan of Foundation, Robbie, and Bards, was in town to come play New London before it closed. So he came over and played. We played Wormspan, which I absolutely love. Every time I play Wormspan, it goes higher and higher. And Caleb even bought the game on the way home. Like he knew as soon as we played it, he loved it as well. He had never actually played Wingspan. And so we played Wormspan instead at his choice, and he bought it on the way home. And we played Fromage. Fromage is a game that I just keep coming back to, and there is no doubt I want to cover it on here, but we have to play it together. So your next trip, if there's a priority game that I want us to play, it will be Fromage, because it's got enough going on that it's not an entry lightweight game, but it's your actions are light enough individually, like so many of the games we talk about, that anyone can play it. Now, understand the nuance of how the scoring goes, all that, but Fromage, at its heart, you're making cheese. And the cool thing is simultaneous play, and you're only playing on your turn. There's a board that rotates, and on each turn, we're only playing in your sector, and that's all you're doing. Everybody done? Rotate the board. You play in your sector. Everybody done? Rotate. So that's just really fun. It's basically a bunch of mini games on the board. And so I like, because each one of those 4 quadrants score differently, and you still make cheese the same way. You have your own player board that has some asymmetric abilities. I don't think I've actually won Fromage yet, but that's how much I like the game. I've lost every time I played it. First time I think I won. No, Hannah blitzed us in it. Anyway. And it's a cool one too, because without doubt, there are games we play that you have to do a little bit of everything to win. Fromage, if you try to do a little bit of everything, you will absolutely lose. It even says that in the rule book, that if you try to diversify, you're probably not going to win the game. You can have fun, but you got to kind of go deep. But then you're kind of playing the other people to see who they're going to deep on those 4 quadrants. Anyway, Fromage is up there for us to definitely play the next time you're up in town.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I like cheese. The board looks super interesting. Like, I wondered if it was like a Planet Unknown situation, that it came with a Lazy Susan. Yeah. But still very doable. Yeah. So games that I played, Jason mentioned it. We had an event in town where my Patreon community inside of disc golf comes to Birmingham once a year, and we have done a game night there really every night since the beginning, I think.
Yep. We've done one every single year. Yeah.
Yeah. And so usually how the game night ends up going is that Jason and I are sprinting around trying to get games started for people. Realistically, Jason's going around trying to get games started for people, and I'm just hopping in and out, shaking hands, kissing babies, doing all that. Like, it's just, the system seems to work. But every year we've done it, we've been at a disc golf shop. And so people come in, and it's like they want to be there to hang out because they've come in town, but no one really is there to play games because they're there for disc golf, right? And so that's just the activity that's on the calendar for the evening. So this year, our local disc golf shop had to close its doors, so we had to look elsewhere. Thankfully, we have a board game cafe in town, Valhalla Gaming, who I connected with, talked to them, got a little deal going, and was able to get all of our crew in to play games. And I think it was one of the biggest upgrades that we had of the entire event, because everyone was just ready to play games. Yep. Like, if you didn't want to play games, there was no draw to go. But if you were just curious to come hang out, there were games available. And because it's a board game cafe, Valhalla has it's super fun. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great space. And they had a pretty good selection, I would say. Yep. It wasn't the biggest board game collection that I've ever seen, but it also was enough. They had some heavier weight games that if you want to go do that, but they also had several lightweight to entry games. But we showed up and we had 15 people, I think, in total by the time it was all done.
Yep.
And so the first thing that we went and grabbed was Seven Wonders, because we just talked about it in episode, but it plays 7 people. And so we sat down, had 7 Wonders at the table. Well, then my table ends up having 8 people at it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, because I just talked about in Seven Wonders how much I am fine facilitating this game. And that's exactly what ended up having to happen, because of Seven Wonders, 2 of our people had ever played the game before. So we have 5 brand new players, and the 2 people that had played before were sitting next to each other. And not only that, but like the guy who's sitting on the other side of them probably was our least experienced gamer out of the whole crew. So it worked out. They just kind of took him and taught him strategy. And then I took the other 5 and sort of walked through and had to develop some things. So it was really fun. I think that you got to see some strategies go along that were really cool. And also got to learn some rules that I did not realize. Like they don't get talked about very often. Yep. And so it's like, oh, yeah, no, that is a rule. Such as if you're playing, you can't have 2 buildings with the same name inside of it, which makes sense. But if you're just playing cards and no one points that out to you before you even blink, you're like, oh, that was a really cool ability.
Yeah,
I'll take that again. And so you just end up with, oh, this is not good. And I'm pretty confident that every game of Seven Wonders that I've ever played, that rule has probably been broken, because it's hard to police until you're 3 or 4 turns after, and you're like, oh, excuse me? How did you get 10 coins? Okay, 6. That's the same building. So I thought that was super fun. And then we played Machikoro, because people love to come and say, like, they like to make a lot of Catan jokes. I know even when we were at the event, that they were like, how do I derail? Jason was winning the event, and someone walked up, and Drew is his name, asked, like, how do I derail Jason? Like, how do I mess with his mental? Do I start talking about Catan? We were like, and he goes, ooh, how about I talk about like how Monopoly is one of the greatest board games ever? And so it was a good time. But I think Machikoro, the more I explain and teach Machikoro, I'm like, it is all of the rush that you get in playing Catan without the trading.
Yep.
Because you have buildings that rob other people. You have buildings that give you things when you roll certain die. You have buildings that, it's just, you're gaining a lot of resources, you're building things, and the resources are just coins. So it's something that's super lightweight, very easy to play. Machikoro is one that I think I put it in my like top 10 games to start your collection with, or like top 10 games for beginners. And I would stand by it. I think that if you dislike negative player interaction, I'm sure you could just eliminate all of the buildings that steal things from people. I would make sure that you buy a certain version, because I definitely think Machikoro 2, a lot of the buildings do that. I would say greater than half of the buildings either take stuff on your turn or take stuff on other people's turns as it goes along. So would pick the right version accordingly. But yeah, so that's the games I ended up playing. I ended up actually playing Machikoro, but like I said, I facilitated Seven Wonders, but I'm counting it. Yep. That feels fair.
Yep, for sure. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's funny. We talked about this that night. The rule with the multiple buildings that you can't do, we've always known that, but you said you can't police it easily in a large game until it's 3 or 4 turns in. And like, well, you've had that minor from the beginning, both of them, so I can't do anything about it. Asterisk, right? That's their joke internally. If you accidentally cheat, Wingspan for you, it's an asterisk game. So, but what we've learned, I told you this, like I've learned rules that we thought we knew. I've learned through digital games. Like I forget, there's a specific thing in Stone Age we always did a certain way. Then when we started playing the app years ago, we realized, oh wow, you can do this thing that we didn't think you could do. But then I learned a big one with Seven Wonders on Board Game Arena. And that your resource cards, so for those who know Seven Wonders, we probably talked about it in the episode, but your resource cards, there are yellow resource cards, market cards you get later on that have resources. And we always played, you could pay someone to use theirs, but you can't do that. You can only use the brown and gray resource cards. You can't use their yellow ones because it's their own personal market. And so that changed a lot too, because I realized that on VGA. So the little rules that we play it the entire way. Now, some of those rules are okay. Like I will happily house rule something I think that's better. But those 2 rules, I agree. It's the way they made the game. I totally agree with that. That makes sense. But like we house rule little things like in Wingspan, we keep all the bonus cards till after the second round just to make it a little more so you can target something a little easier. And I've applied that to other games that don't do that already. And there's other little bitty ones like Dinosaur, like other ones that says, hey, deal out 2 things to choose from. Well, if, like to start your game, like a board on for example, we have a Castle of Burgundy sitting on the table right now to play with Ryder tomorrow night. And it says basically just deal out a player board, but I'm like, I'm dealing out 3 because we know the game and just lets us have a little more agency on it. We talked about before, house rules are always okay things. As long as you understand it's your house rule and other people may call you on it, but in your house, play the way you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a good house rule for truly making the experience your own. And if, like I said, if you're a house that like, I think that some house rules of like, if you have younger children or something like that you're trying to get into gaming, sometimes a house rule of attacking or doing that, like, it's just, all right, let's have a better stand. A house rule that we do in Villainous is a great example here. Is that Villainous, if we have more than 3 players playing, everybody plays their first 2 turns simultaneously, and there is no fading. So, because I feel like everyone's first couple turns in that game are so slow anyways, because you're like, I'm playing an ally here, I'm doing this, like, it's just trying to figure out how to do all of it is tough. So we played their first 2 turns simultaneously, and then you go from there. We still deal out the number of coins as if you're first player, second player, third player, all of that. We just kind of forego that thing, and that sounds so crazy, but it literally shaves like 20 to 30 minutes off.
I believe it.
Of the game.
I definitely believe it.
Which, when it's already like an hour and a half game at times, when it has no business being that long. Yeah.
Well, even the most famous. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robbie.
I was going to say, we got to do Villainous one day. We've never done Villainous here on the podcast.
We haven't covered Villainous. We talked about it, and like I literally own. I say this every episode. I own every Villainous there is sitting over there on my shelf. Haven't played half of them because some are just basically the expansions, the little 3 things expansions. What going back to the house rules, the most famous one is Monopoly. Like we talked about Monopoly earlier, is going to free parking, right? Getting the money from the middle. Like that's not in the rules anywhere. There's lots of little things we always play Monopoly, and it's much more fun playing it that way because if you actually play it by the real rules, it makes the game even worse. Anyway, sorry. Sorry for those Monopoly lovers out there. So.
Oh, dude, Monopoly house rule, and then we'll jump into the main topic. But Monopoly house rule it is a real rule that I didn't realize that my parents just didn't do is if someone lands on a property and decides not to buy it, it goes to auction. Yeah.
We never played that either. Years later, I found that out. So
and so we're like, why do these games take so much infinitely longer? And it's like, oh, it's because we literally had to land on every space. That's crazy.
I didn't know that either because I think I was just like we all were. I was just taught the rules, and so we just played what I was taught without ever actually looking at the rule book once as a kid. So,
But speaking of rule books, I had to brush up on rule books today to make sure that I was ready to talk about this game. Jason, tell the listeners about our game Azul.
Yep, for sure. And we will caveat this by we will do our best to explain the game. It's an abstract game that is beautiful and fantastic and a wonderful play without giving anything away. But trying to explain, we talked about this beforehand, trying to explain it's really hard. And I have some, for those who are watching on YouTube, I'll have some visual cues to show what we're talking about. If you're listening, thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate everybody who's out there listening to us or watching us. If you're listening, maybe go pull up a photo on Board Game Geek or something that'll help you understand it. We'll do our best. Inevitably, we may miss some stuff as we do other episodes, but we'll try to encapsulate as best we can. So, all right, let's dig in. Azul, released in 2017. Designed by Michael Kiesling, who's designed a bunch of games out there. I don't want to list them all. Published by Next Move Games, but a few publishers have published this. 2 to 4 player game, plays in 30 to 45 minutes, which is pretty accurate. Spiel des Jahres winner from 2018, among tons of other awards. When I was looking at it, I was like, wow, it's not a surprise because it was so pioneering in how it did its abstract play. But Spiel des Jahres, biggest award in board gaming, ranked 84th on BGG. That's very high. To be in the top 100 on BGG is massive for certain. Okay, let's dig in a little bit. Introduce a little background on what inspired the game Azul. First time we've really done that because it is very thematic. And then go in. Introduced by the Moors, azulejos, originally white and blue ceramic tiles, were fully embraced by the Portuguese when their king, Manuel I, on a visit to the Alhambra Palace in southern Spain, mesmerized by the stunning beauty of those decorative tiles. The king, awestruck by that beauty, immediately ordered that his own palace in Portugal be decorated with similar wall tiles. So that's what inspires the game Azul and why it's called that. As a tile-laying artist, you've been challenged to embellish the walls of the Royal Palace of Evora. In the game Azul, players take turns drafting colored tiles from the main game area to then place on their player board. The player boards consist of 4 areas, a scoring track at the top of each one. The bottom of each player board has a horizontal set of boxes, which are associated with negative values, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the main parts of the board are 2 sections found in the middle. I'll show it right here, and we'll talk a little bit again. Those 2 sections, the left side is a series of holding boxes, basically look like stairs from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have it upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4. I realized I had it upside down. So you see it's like stair steps. And then the, excuse me, that. And to the right of this sits the mosaic of tile art, basically where you're going to place the tiles that you've matched. At the end of the round, players score points based on how they've placed their tiles on the board. Additionally, each player could potentially lose points based on tiles they were unable to play on their board. Extra points are additionally scored at the end of the game for all complete rows, complete columns, and putting 1 tile out, putting 5 tiles of a single design. Call it single color, but it's single design as well. Player with the most points in the game wins. That was super high level, and we'll try to go into the nitty gritty of it. But essentially, you are on your turn, you're going to pull tiles, and you're going to put on your player board. And then the next player is going to pull tiles. And then once all the tiles have been pulled from the main middle area we're all pulling from, then we're going to place our tiles over on that colorful arrow area on our player board. And there are some restrictions and constrictions with how you can place those. And then once they've all been placed, we then score on how we played those that round. The game ends when somebody has completed a row. So on a round, the round plays till all the tiles have been pulled. On any point in that round, if someone has completed a row, the game will end at the end of that round. All right, let's go.
Dang. Well, guys, deep breaths. We'll get there. So setup and teach. I think that the setup of this game is honestly super fun. Yeah. It reminds me of 5 Tribes that we've covered before. In that you are taking, so there's going to be these factories, I think is like technically what they're called. But like the pieces, like the little circles in the middle. Yeah. So you're going to pull tiles out of a grab bag and place them on these factories, and the number changes based on player counts, things like that. So as you set these out, you're going to, so think of it as if there is a bunch of pools of different tiles. So we'll say we're playing a 4-player game. There's 4 tiles on each of these. Awesome. So you get to pick one design from that pool, and you take every tile that matches that design, and all the other ones get moved to the side.
To the middle.
To this giant pot. So you're like, all right, cool. And then you bring those onto your wall that you're trying to decorate, and you start stacking them in the holding zones to the left.
Yeah.
But when they're in a row, you can only put one one design per row. So one row has, if you just pull a single like black tile, it can go in the one spot at the very top. That one's done. You're going to get points on it that round. Awesome. So when you're setting it up, the setup is super fun because you're just pulling these tiles out, and like you can find that there's like really broken moves right off the bat because you're like, oh, all 4 of these are the same exact color. Hope I go first. Cause it's harder to get larger pieces. And the teach, that's exactly what you're kind of saying is you're going to pick a color or a design. You're going to pull that, everything goes to the side. We're going to keep going around until all the tiles have been drafted onto people's boards. Yep. Now understanding the scoring when the tile actually gets added to your wall, understanding the scoring of how you lose points and can get negatives, understanding the flow of like, okay, you kind of want to be building because you get more points if you combo like vertical and horizontal layers on your wall. I would say if I were sitting down to teach this, I would never sit down and play just one game of Azul. This would be another one. We've talked about this with games before. Like, I want to say it was 7 Wonders that we said most recently.
Yep.
Is like, hey guys, we're going to spend an hour playing this game. We're going to blitz through it the first time. And then the second time we're going to think about it a little more. But in this first game, I want you to just draft and go. I think that always is going to set you up for a better player experience At least from what I have had this taught to me, that's what they did. And then a couple other times that I've taught it, that's what I did. And I thought it went really well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's it. Even when you explained everything correctly, but then there's all these little, and it's not a bash, there's always little things that get left out of that. Like to try to even conceptualize, okay, you're pulling them, you're putting them here, but then you saw on the to add to Robbie's how the cognitive load goes heavier. The player board where you're temporarily placing those tiles you just drafted there's a 1 spot, a 2 spot, a 3 spot, 4 spot, 5 spot. So as Robbie said, if I go red in the spot with 4 and I choose 2 red to go there, well, the only thing until I get that entire row filled with red, I can't put any other tiles there. So now I've just limited myself with that. Or if later on to complete that, I already have 2 red and I pull 4 red. Well, I put 2 red there, but I can't put the 2 other red in another row. You can only put each time you pull tiles from the middle, they can only go in a single row. Anything that doesn't fit technically falls to the bottom, gets placed on the bottom, and becomes negative points. And it's hard to, even saying that, it's hard to conceptualize that. But if you show somebody a couple of times, here's one round, just do this, like, oh, okay, I totally get it. I get the mechanism of I'm taking 3 blues, but only 2 fit, so one's going to drop, go to the bottom. Or I'm taking 2 red now. Okay, I can math out. There's red there, 3 player. Okay, I should go get the other red to fill out that row of 3. So now the conceptual side of this is how we play the game. And then the scoring is where, as Robbie said, you just got to play it out because you get scored based on when you move a tile over at the end of the round. So for each completed row you've done on your player side, the stair step, each completed area. So if I've completed the one, like Robbie said, at the end, you're supposed to do it simultaneously, but we do it in turn order just so we can see each by score. You technically move that over and now play it on the board. So if I put the black one in the one spot, when it's time to score, I would move that. Now I can only do that if I haven't already placed a black one on my main board, right? We haven't said that, but you're following the patterns that's on the board that's already pre-printed. I move that over there. If it's over and it's not touching anything else orthogonally, it scores just 1 point by itself. But if there's already a tile orthogonally over there, because I say I slide over, I just move it over to the spot. So if there's already a tile to the right of it that's already placed from a previous round, well, then it was 1 point for each tile, the one I just placed and the one it's touching. If there's a tile underneath it, it's 1 point for each tile it's touching. So it's 1, 2. You do columns and then rows. So I'd score the columns 1, 2. Then I score the row 1, 2. So it'd be 4 points. That still, even when I explain it, it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but that's how the scoring goes. And so, but once you see that scoring, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, now I get it. And you can try to set up for these massive scorings where you can get 5 and 4 points on a single row that you complete, and then you do those kinds of things. But conceptualizing this heavy thing of how you draft the tiles and place them, and there's some restrictions on that. Move them over, restrictions on that, and then the scoring's really black and white, but it's not intuitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those. It's certainly a game where, like I said, when you've played it a couple times, your brain starts to wrap around how the scoring works.
Yeah.
So usually, if you play with someone, unless you somehow have watched a video of it before you started playing, or you're listening to a podcast where board gamers are talking about it, the first time you play, usually you get walloped because it's just so hard to think about setting your turns up enough in advance to be able to get those massive combos. Because it's like, okay, if I grab 4 to the 4 row and I place it, it's probably by itself in no man's land chilling. So it's like, oh, it's only a point this turn, but I had to invest so much to get that done. But if you do that early, then when you start getting to the later rounds and you start just slamming and you're completing all your small rows and you just go like in that same column over and over and over again because the tiles work out that way, you can end up just catapulting yourself into the lead. This is a game that I play. It makes sense that it came out in 2018 because I feel like if I go to like a Target locally, you can always find Azul or something like that. Or not even that it came out in 2018, that it won the award in 2018 because it is like, it's super popular. I think that a lot of people know this game. A lot of people are familiar with it. So you're certainly not going to be walking in unfamiliar territory bringing this up. But yeah, like I just think about like, okay, that's what I'm trying to do. And so you're just going to end up in these. So I watched a video to like see the gameplay just to make sure that I was like, okay, this is how this works, right?
Yeah.
So watch some people play it, and it was a 4-player game. And in that 4-player game, a guy is in the lead, Jason, until literally the game ends.
Yep.
And he comes in last place.
Yep. And
it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's you
fascinating.
You can get so focused on in game scoring, real time scoring. Oh, I just got that. Oh, I got this combo right. This one tile completes 4 here and 3 there. So there's 7 points. Yes. But at the end of the game, I mentioned it very quickly earlier. For every column you complete, you get 5 points. Every row you complete, you get 2 points. And then the big one is if you're able to put 5 of a design tile out there, as in you completed 5 rows with those, that's 10 points for each one you do. So if you do 1 of those or 2 of those, that will wildly overtake the inability to complete columns or rows or have the real in real time scoring during the game. I stink at this on Board Game Arena. Like, I've only won a handful of times. I've quit playing it because I'm so bad at playing it with other people in Board Game Arena. I literally don't know how or why I'm so bad at it. I've tried other games I know. Well, I don't, because I push my luck here. I try to do this. Like Lost Cities, I play a ton, but I try to go for the big thing in Lost Cities. So I lose a lot on Lost Cities, but I'm okay with that because I know why I'm losing. Azul, I don't know why I'm losing. I'm just bad, apparently. Because of those things, I'll get caught up doing one thing or get caught up trying to do another thing. And so it's, your example of that is spot on. We've had plenty of games where like, oh, wow, someone's running away and they've got 40 or 50 points real time. But they're only going to complete 1 column, and I got 3 columns completed, so I already got more points than there. Oh, they're only getting 1 row. Oh, and I got 5 colors. Okay, I'm good. Right? You can kind of see. The good thing is you don't necessarily always have a runaway winner. Sometimes you can, but because of the thing you just said, like you don't unless you're really mathing it out, and you can kind of see what the potential is. But that last round would dictate it all for them for sure.
Yeah, it is. The scoring potential, it just gets real sneaky at the end. And it's funny because it really isn't a game that like, oh, the scoring is like crazy complicated because it's coming from a billion different places. Like I don't have to worry about my market score and my people score. Yeah. And like, it's not a Euro where you're trying to do that. It's just points are like real time appearing on the board. But it is always shocking to me when you get to the end of this game. So talking theme really loosely there. I think that like the theme carries. I think that when you know the theme, it actually fits really well. Yeah. I don't think you need the theme at all. No. Like if you just told me that it was pretty, if it was Chiclets, the bubblegum board game, I would think that it is literally the exact same thing. Yeah. Like I am trying to like put cool pieces of gum in my mouth. Yeah. And when it doesn't fit because I put too many reds in there, congratulations, it falls to the ground.
It's so funny you say that because you're right in that when you know what the theme is, oh, I see it. Definitely see it. If you don't know what the theme is, it could be anything. And on that point, last year or 2 years ago, they released a chocolate version of this, as in you're building a box of chocolate. So exact same gameplay, 100%. It's just Azul chocolatier or something like that. So you're building a box of chocolate, which again, with the right theme, you can make a box of cupcakes. You can make a thing of flowers. But when you know the theme, it's there. Does it make sense how tiles fall and all that? Of course it doesn't. But on the principle of I'm building this really pretty, wall there with ceramic tiles, very cool. And on the back, well, we won't go too much in this, but on the back, there's actually you do your own version of it, but each column can only have one of each design, and each row can only have one of each design. So you don't have to follow the exact pattern here. Because all the player boards look exactly like this, or you can play with the wild one where you still have to match the one of each in those, but it gives you a little more freedom and agency to start from the beginning. When we were playing this a lot, we almost always did it on this side, but I have not done that on BGA, and we haven't played that way in a while because it's hard to teach that. You need that you do with people who know how to play the game.
For sure. But I appreciate that about the player boards. Yeah. I think that it's fun that it has that variance to it. Yeah. It reminds me of a game that we covered way back when in Sagrada of if you go with the wild card side, it feels like in Sagrada where you're taking on a larger, like a more complicated pattern. That's kind of the vibe you get because the pattern is not inherently more complicated, but it's certainly less guided. So you have to be sort of mentally planning as you go through to be like, okay, because there could come a world that you're like, oh, I'm just hardcore stuck. Like this.
Yep.
This is here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Yeah. So it just, like Jason said, it can be really, really tough. Game length, pretty spot on. Like I said, this is one that I think that you can push people through this game in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, and I don't even think you're like really rushing. This is definitely one. I'd be curious how long in like a BGA, like a real time game, you're probably crushing this in like 15 minutes tops.
Yeah, closer to, if you're playing with people who play fast, because you have like 3 minutes, but some people just play fast, you can get out in less than 10. Because most of my BGA, I play board game, or I play the competitive version of it, which is it presets how many players, and Azul is always 2-player, because I don't know why it's not more for the competitive version of it, like your world ranking and all that kind of stuff. When I say competitive, there's no prizes. It's just other than pride. But anyway, though I am top 400 in like Castles of Burgundy in the tens of thousands. So, I'm pretty happy with those things.
Yeah.
But it plays fast. Like you can play in less than 10 minutes, like nothing. 7 Wonders is the same way. If you're playing with someone who knows 7 Wonders, just like boom, like this very much, especially folks who really know Azul are that way. And what I'll say in real time, the 4-player game makes it go, is that 45 minutes, but it doesn't drastically take it longer. Now, if you play with somebody who thinks about every single color, AP, again, there's players, I know people and I love them, but there are people who think about every color on every single tile, okay, well, if I take those 2, it could do this. But on that one, I could take these 3 and it could do this. But if I go there, it's this 1 and it does, if they're already, because the board changes dynamically, because basically what Robbie was saying is that, there's these little bitty, they're called factories. There's little bitty circle tiles that put out, and that's where the tiles go. So on a 4-player game, you're going to have access to 9 of those to start. And so you have 9 choices, but if the moment you take from one of those, well, now it's down to 8 choices and the middle, and so on and so forth. So the game is changing real time. So people with AP have to pivot some, because like, oh, I really wanted that one. Well, crap, I can't get that one. I really wanted this one, and they took these, so now it's jumbled it up. Not drastically, but if you play with people who are prone to play slow, they will slow down crunching out what is there. And then even at the end of every round, we all kind of stop for a second. Okay, look, there's 4 players. If I take this, and you're mathing out how many tiles you may get stuck with. In the end, it's about how many am I going to get stuck with? And so even I will like, okay, well, if they do this, it's that. But if they do this, because the way you can, as you get towards the end of each round, you only have a few tiles left. You can math out, okay, there's 5 colors, there's 4 players. So if it's my turn, I'm going to get 2 of those. So which ones can I guarantee are the best for me or whatever? So, but even with that, even with a slow player, maybe an hour at 4 players, maybe, which is not bad at all.
Yeah. Jason, I'm gonna pull a weird analogy here, because I've been trying to figure out how, like, the end of the round, that math you're talking about of like, okay, I'm trying to adjust it. It's something that feels super unique to the game. And I think what's really fun is that same uniqueness actually carries across all the different Azuls that are out there.
Yeah.
Because there always is a world of like, and then this one, obviously, like Summer Pavilion isn't as mean in terms of the negative scoring as this one is. And I'm sure we'll end up talking about that as like one of the final, or probably in cookie ratings would be my guess, is where it'll come up, or I don't know. But I was trying to figure out how it worked. And then the idea hit me while I was like sitting with my son this afternoon, and I was like, this is exactly where I think more people are going to relate to this than ever before. Did y'all ever play the Mario Party games?
By the video games?
House?
Like,
the video games. Yeah. Okay. So one of the original Mario Party games, one of the mini games is everyone is walking under this tree. And the tree has like apples and fruits and all this other stuff. And then there's these honeycombs that are in there. And your character has like a basket. And then there's a spinning die that's like 1 or 2. And you have to jump up and hit the die. And that many objects falls into your basket. If you catch a honeycomb, you're out. And there's a world where you're playing that game and everyone's just mathing it the whole time of like, okay, I'm going to go 1 here, because that would make it like they would basically, even if they all went 1, I could still go 2 and be fine. If I go 2 here, they could all go 1 and be fine. Like there's no way this gets back. Okay, 6. So you like sit there and do the math for a second. that's what the end of every single round of Azul feels like. Is it really is this like the facts are there.
Yeah.
I see the honeycomb that is there are 4 reds that cannot end up on my board. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yep.
Like, and you're doing that. So I think it's I don't know. It's a goofy stretch, but that math crunching.
Yep.
I was like, I don't know that I've ever experienced that anywhere other than Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of getting stuck with it, I think it's important to go ahead and talk about something that I know is very off-putting for both of us about this game. Let's talk about the tiles falling to the bottom, the negative side of it. Because I know it also hits home for, I believe, Ryder. The first time we ever talked about Azul, I think it was Ryder was like, had a game where he just went crazy negative, and it was like, no.
Yeah, he hates Azul. He won't play any of the Azul, so he just doesn't like them for that reason. Yeah, so the heart of the games we kind of touched about already. So if you ever choose to draft tiles or have to draft tiles, as in you're the last player, you have to take. So if there's 7 blues in the middle, you have to take all 7 blues, even though you may literally have no spot for blues on your board because of how you've placed everything in your prep. And so all 7 of those will go to the bottom of your board. And if you do all 7 spots, that's 6, 10, 14, negative 14 points. And now keep in mind, I was looking through some of my BGA scores, Board Game Marine scores, and they're often 50 to 60 points. So if you have minus 14 in a single round, at most a 5-round game, because if you're speed running, and you can definitely complete the game in 5 rounds, because if you put a single one every single time, so the minimum number of rounds you'll do is always 5. So it could be very tough. It can be a very mean game depending on who you're playing with. And my experience, especially in the competitive level on BGA, 90% of the people play mean. Now they're still winning. And Robbie and I had this conversation beforehand, and it's one that hit me. I had never really thought about until I started playing it on BGA. You can say, I want to outscore you, so I'm going to do this, or in board gaming, or I'm going to make you score less than me, which are 2 different things. And in hardcore competitive Azul, the winner almost always makes you score less than them because they are backwards working it. Now, it's still within the rules. They're playing within the rules, and that's the way the game is. And you'll hear board game reviewers like we are talking about. It can be very mean and cutthroat if they're intentionally trying to – they'll take a move that's bad for them because it leaves you a worse move for you as opposed to taking a really good move for them that just gives you an okay move. I've seen so many times at Board Game Arena. We're like, just take that. You're going to fill a row, but they take a single thing because it sticks me with worse than what it stuck them, right? It's in our house, we rarely play that way. Sometimes you have to do that towards the end of the round, like we talked about, figuring out the least. Yeah. It's happened before, but we don't, in general, we don't intentionally hate draft unless it's that last. It's mostly just so we don't get stuck with the worst. We don't intentionally go negative to have you go a bigger negative. It's like we just do the least pain to us towards the end. We had one game, and I think it wasn't the first time we played Azul. We were on I think it was our first beach trip. Me, Elizabeth, Christopher, and Manny went to my dad's condo in Gulf Shores. We played Azul, and the 7 blues happened to me. In every one of them, I've actually never seen it. I had so many that they didn't even all fill up. Like some of them just fell, like literally I filled up every spot and then had like 2 or 3 more. And that's just the way it was. And it wasn't intentional. And they're like, we're so sorry. And like, and sometimes you can see it coming. Unfortunately, when you play it enough, you realize, okay, just get ready for the punch to the face that is unintentional if you're playing with people who don't want to be cutthroat, right? And again, you can play this cutthroat, and if your family likes that, knock yourself out, have fun. Yeah. Smash Up, I'm okay with cutthroat. King of Tokyo, I'm okay with cutthroat because that's about the game. Mistborn, one avenue is attacking other people. I'm okay with that. Like those games, I go into it knowing it's small world. The whole part of small world is taking over lands, right? Area control, area majority. Yeah. Conflict is the game. Exactly. Whereas this, I realized, and it may affect my cookie score, spoiler, I realized when I played BGA how much I just didn't like people who played like that. And so it started tainting my enjoyment of the game when people were, and again, they're playing within the rules. They're not doing anything wrong. They are not bad people for doing it. But that I want to win games, but I play to have fun. And it is not fun for guys to constantly stick you with negative points. That is not fun at all. And I didn't realize that was even a thing. I heard reviewers always talk about it. I'm like, well, that's just not the way we played. And then when I went to Board Game Arena, and that's how almost everybody plays. And I'm like, well, I'm out. Like, I quit playing Azul and Board Game Arena for that very reason, because I was just not having any fun at all. So that's a long discourse to say this game can be, if you choose to be, it can be very much cutthroat, and that you're hate drafting just to stick people with points, as opposed to, hey, I'm trying to outscore you, as opposed to I'm trying to make you score less than me.
Yeah. And I will say, as someone who doesn't have the last name Collins, I've played a lot of games at the Collins household. In fact, I'm really looking forward to our next episode. I think our next episode very much is going to be tough for me to ever not have at the top of my favorites of episodes we've ever done. Like, I literally think our interview with Jamie is going to be the closest I probably get. I mean, we'll see. Yeah. We don't know where the longevity of the podcast is, but I'm very much looking forward to the next episode, because our list is going to be awesome. So I've got a lot of games played with Jason and his family, but I grew up in a gacha household. Like, I grew up in a household of players who it was always, what is the cutthroat thing to do? What can we interact with? My wife is a cutthroat gamer. She does not like cooperative games because she cannot crush you. Like, that is direct quote. So I'm here for that. And when I go play at the Collins household, it's a peaceful zone. I like that I get to walk into zones. I get to walk into games and be like, I can be a little greedy here and try to push for this, because people aren't going to try to zap my resources. Yep. But without fail, almost every game that I play at the Collins household, if there is a villain role to slot into, it's always me who slots in and is like, all right, Elizabeth, I'll be taking 2 of those resources. And she's just looking at me like, who knew this card was in the game? Like, that's where we end up. It's a fun world. So I do think that this is a really great aspect of the game, if you like that sort of paying attention to the other side. I will add that this does add to the AP of the game as well. Yeah. Because now not only am I looking at my board trying to make adjustments, but I'm looking at all the options from my board. And then if I am trying to hate draft or do something, I'm also looking at, okay, Jason needs that. Elizabeth needs that. Ryder needs that. Okay. It's 10 points if I do this, but she loses 14 points if I do that. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that Jason's talking about.
Yep, that's exactly it.
And it elongates the game dramatically. Yep. And it's tough because, once again, it's fully within the rules. It is not like you're not a bad person.
No.
If that's how you choose to play the game. Right. It just understands that, like, this, I think it makes it the most polarizing part of the game, simply because hate drafting is, in lots of places, hate drafting it's a common term. If you play enough board games, talk to enough people, they'll know that. Yep. Hate drafting rarely is as effective as it is in Azul.
Yeah. At least in the common games that a lot of gamers know, for sure.
Yeah. Because there's times where you're like, I'm going to take this card because I know you need that card or something like that. Yep. But it doesn't end up like doing something crazy. Here, I mean, we're literally talking like 19-point swings, because if I can get 5 points off of it and you lose 14, that's the game. Yep. Like, you just lost off of that one move, which is good for winning.
For sure. If you're trying to win, for sure. But I even realized I started being more vicious in Azul and was doing a little bit better, and I just felt horrible. Like, I just can't keep doing this to people. I can't, like, my entire, like, because I was getting so mad at everybody doing that to me, and they're winning all the games. They're doing their job, sometimes winning by a lot. And so I started playing that way, and I won a little bit more, not a lot more, but I was definitely winning more. I was like, I just feel bad. I can't do this. And so I just quit playing altogether. So, whereas there are other Azuls out there that take away some of that, there's a little bit, not pure hate drafting. Azul Summer Pavilion is actually my more favorite version of the game, but Azul is more well known, more well accessed. That's the first one we covered. And Robbie has played Azul Summer Pavilion with us, and it brings in the wild token. And you have some level of, like we talked about, hate draft, where I'm going to take these. I know you'd like them, but it's not sticking you with something negative. You just now have to pivot, and you're still going to get points from the tiles you take. They just may not be as big of points. That's a level of hate drafting that we're all used to, that I'm going to do something that's good for me. That's okay for me, but I need to do it long term anyway. But it would be better for you on this turn. But you're not getting stuck with anything bad. You just now got to choose something else. So for sure. So,
and I will say I had this realization, Jason, in the Lorcana side of things, because I played the villain in my Lorcana deck, and this current set that we're in, one color just got ridiculously overpowered, and I've been whining about it for weeks. Like, I know I've been whining about it. Sapphire's stupid. I hate it. I wish that it would just errata that thing. That's fine. Our listeners that play are going to understand that. But I play green steel, which is mean already in itself. And I just had the realization today as I was sitting there like playing some games, trying to like get it all get some reps in. And I was like, you know what? I had my time in the sun for the current time being. I have to let the boogeyman not be me and let people appreciate, hey, I'm not the villain anymore, and know that my deck is trash in the current meta, but that's fine. My day will come back again, and let others enjoy it. I'm no longer the most hated person who shows up to locals, which is great. So it's, you gotta find your spot, guys. You gotta find your spot. So replayability, let's tap that, and then we can keep going, because we're coming on that 50-minute mark.
Yeah, for sure. Like, for a game I didn't expect to talk a lot about, I'm talking a lot about. So
we got a lot of talk.
So replayability, what I'll say about replayability is in our notes, Robbie can see, is that because the tiles come out, the game's the same play. And going to a point you made earlier, scoring's actually very easy, because scoring's exactly the same every single round. Every single round in the game, there's no variability. There's no, I got more sheep, so this means more points. I got more cows. I did this. I have more science things. It is black and white. We all score exactly the same every single time. So that makes that may seem like, oh, that game's gonna be the same every time. Well, no, because the tiles come out in different bunches every time, and the way you choose them bunches them up in different ways. And you may go for different paths. I may go a lot of ones to start, a lot of twos. I may try to go all reds, all blues, whatever that may be. Because of that, I think the replayability is high. And this is a game we don't go too much in this. I guess we've said before, but this game plays well at all player count, but I actually prefer this at the max player count, because when you have 2 players, you have less of those factories locations to pull tiles from. But if you have 4 players, you have more. So just by default, you're going to see more tiles in the game when you're in a 4-player game. Now, 4 more people are choosing, but there's more tiles out there. And I've realized that those 4-player games, you have a higher chance, if the tiles come right and everybody's playing nice, for those big scores. So this is a game that, especially for people who know it, I definitely prefer this to the higher player count. Elizabeth, I was going through BG stats, and I have one two-player recorded version of the game, because it just doesn't hit the same. It's not bad for someone who has a ton of games. It's just fine, but when I play it with 3 or 4 people, it's way better. I think we've played this with Brad and Kimberly. I know I played it with Jimmy, Hunter's brother, and his wife. We played the first time they came over, we played it, and he loved it because of the abstract nature of it, and it's not like so many other games we've talked about. It's a drafting game. At its heart, it's a drafting game, just like Seven Wonders, just like Dominion. Dominion's a deck builder, but just like Sushi Go, like it's a drafting game. Cascadia is a drafting game. You're drafting tiles, you're drafting these things. But the abstract nature of it definitely adds to it. The replayability is very high, because once you know it, you can play it quick as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would fully agree at higher player counts. Like, it's just, I played it at 3. I've played it at 4, 3, 3, or 4, 3, and then everything else has been 4. The thought of playing it at 2 feels so insane to me. I just keep, every time you keep mentioning it on BGA, I'm like, why? Which is probably also a reason, right? Like you said, of why it just isn't even that appetizing to play it anymore. Cause it's also like, it's, I can't speak to 2 because I never played it at 2.
Yep.
But,
I'll say this. Yeah. If you only have a handful of games, playing it at 2 is not bad, because you're just going through the motions. As you know it more, you can play that thing really quick. What I will pivot to and talk about the highlight of the entire game, right? I love the game, love everything about it, but what people love to talk about with Azul is the production, and the camera will kind of show it, but these basically they're starburst looking pieces. They basically look like pieces of starburst. The yellow one especially looks like starburst. The red, it looks like pieces of candy. and there's 4 different ones. There's the blue, there's we call it the Haunted Mansion one because it kind of looks like the Haunted Mansion pattern from Disney. And the chunkiness of these tiles are just what makes the game so great. The tactile nature of pulling these tiles out, the high quality of it, the design on it is just fun design as well. So for me, the basics of the game is pretty basic. The art on the player board is clean, but nothing amazing. The graphic design is really cool, but the tiles are just out of this world. Yeah. They're just so cool. Yeah.
And it's base tiles, like as well. Like that's the base production for it, which is nice. Like we'll talk about before we close out, updating on we have copies of Quacks that we want to give away. And we just need reviews, guys. But we'll talk about that at the end because Quacks just got a reprint. I don't know if you saw that, Jason. Yeah. So wild. But when you go to buy Quacks, I introduced 2 friends, Ryan and Abby, to Quacks. And I was like, guys, I'm just warning you that you're going to love this game, but also know that you're going to buy it twice because you got to buy the upgraded bits. And it's just worth it. But when you play Azul, you get those, like, I'm sure it's one of those, I'm not even sure buying upgraded bits for Azul would even work or not even.
What are you upgrading?
They're not even worth it.
Right.
Like,
they're already they were just so nice.
I would imagine that they'd be like transparent.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what Azul Summer Pavilion looks almost like cough drops and stuff, like more like hard candy. And then you've seen Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, another version of Azul that we don't own, but I need to buy. It basically looks like cough drops or hard candy because it is a little transparent. And then stained glasses and then the Summer Pavilion are the diamond shaped ones that have different designs as well. They're same high quality, but the quality of that is fantastic. And it was leading to the crazy amount of cost. The MSRP, the base price for this is $40, which for that much plastic is crazy. But you can almost always, right now it's $32 on Amazon. You can almost always find it on a $30 to $35 deal. But just that much plastic alone in the game is crazy. And today, the chocolate version at Miniature Market is $20. Probably won't be by the time we drop it on Thursday, but if I liked Azul enough, I'd maybe get the chocolate version, but it's still iffy. Yeah.
Well, Jason, you want to dive into you want to start us on the cookie scale?
Absolutely.
I've gone last couple times.
It's what's funny as we go down this path of our cookie scales, and when we've talked, like we're gonna revisit those at some point, which is gonna be another fun episode. I can't wait to revisit our cookie scales on down the road. But if you had told me before we started on the podcast going deep, Azul would have been a double doozy. Without doubt. Historically, in my mind, it was a double doozy. Yeah. Spoiler, it is not a double doozy. Not even close for me. And BGA kind of brought out some of the things I realized I didn't initially like, right? But my rating is a firm peanut butter cookie. If anybody wants to play it, I will bring it out happily and play it and love it. It's a game that I've used to teach because you played Summer Pavilion with us. I think Azul, even though the scoring's odd, is a little easier to teach than Summer Pavilion. Even though I like Summer Pavilion way more because of the wild nature of it, but it's a little easier to teach. The abstract nature of it is a little easier to teach. The pieces are great, but it's another one of those games that some games when I played them so much, the rating just goes down. Like the Dice Tower does a thing where they do Tom does a look back or something where he looks back 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and what he rated things and what he rates them now versus what he did back then. And he even says sometimes, like at the time it was hot, but as I played it more, I played it so much that it's just it's not a bad game, but if I had to be an honest rating, it's just not what it used to be. And there is no doubt, first episode of Bards of the Board, if we talked about if I had to give you an Azul off the top of my head, it's going to be double doozy, or at least chocolate chip, but probably double doozy. But it's definitely a firm peanut butter cookie. Love to play it. Anybody wants to play it, I'll happily pull it out. I would recommend it. Like it's easy one to put as in a game to put on your top 10 games to start a game collection with, because it's an abstract game that is so different but so easy to play. But for me, it's a peanut butter.
Yeah. I won't even try to hide it. I am also coming in at a peanut butter because I think about it for two reasons. One, I think the replayability is so high and so fun that the strategy doesn't really change, because at the end of the day, you just have to draft what tiles come out. You have to adjust based on the people that you're playing with. But I also, because I love this at 4, this is such a great game if you and your significant other play board games. This is like the perfect, like, other couple date night game to pull out, because it's super easy, very straightforward. You can play with really non-gamers and they're going to enjoy the pieces and things like that. They may not do as well. But like, and while you're doing it, there's so many conversations that can be occurring, especially if you're not playing with super crunchy people who are trying to like dial it in and all that. Because we're just sitting there and it's like, I'm having a conversation with Lindsay and Lindsay's talking to Ryan. Ryan's talking with Abby and all that. And we're like, all right, Lindsay, you done? All right, cool. And then I just jump in. I take a quick glance, see what I want. Bang, I pull 2 tiles. Awesome. Slide them to the side. And then I just jump back in the conversation with whoever the other 2 people are. Like it plays so easily and it plays well at 4. So yeah, it's going to be up there for me. But yeah, like I said, peanut butter, just because there are other games that I'm going to want to play.
Yeah.
But like Jason said, if I ever got invited over to someone's house and they were like, oh, hey, do you want to play Azul? I would be like, sure, let's do it. There are certainly games that I would rather not play. That for the right person, I will play. But Azul is, I'm never going to gripe about Azul. I'm never going to because at the end of the day, and Jason's going to judge me as a friend here, but like at the end of the day, if I really want to like scratch an itch of like, oh, I can be competitive, I just hate draft the whole time. And I'm going to have a great time. And everyone else, like I'm going to see how low I can get every other person to go. It made me think of the strategy when you were talking about, I'm going to outscore you versus I'm going to make sure you don't get more points than me. Is like this is one of Jason's favorites of all time. And it's gone downhill because I've played it too much for my liking, but Ticket to Ride, that's exactly how I play that game. Is I'm going to get all my trains out as fast as possible. I don't care about routes. I'm picking the cheapest routes that I possibly can. And I am just jamming trains to make sure that, not because I'm trying to go for like a record breaking score. I just want to make sure that you guys don't have enough time to get more points than me. So it's funny how we end up in that world. I'll have to tell you off stream one time, I was talking to Josh White about Ticket to Ride and what a fun experience.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So good. But, hey, any final thoughts as we wrap things up here for this episode?
No,
Jason?
I appreciate it, man. This is it's fun. Again, we're over an hour. I going this, like I may have 10 minutes to talk about. And it's just, that's what's fun about, I love board games, right? And even a game that I call peanut butter, which again isn't a bad thing. But I waxed on poetically, or maybe not so poetically, for a long time in this episode, because I had a lot of stuff saying and left a lot on the table because we don't want to go too much over an hour as it is. I could talk even longer about this. So that's maybe it's because we haven't had a game. We haven't talked in 3 weeks, and I just got to get it all out. So
that's true. We love our games. We love to talk about it. And I think if you catch anything, there are memories associated with this. So find games you love, find games that you can really create some memories with. So I'll close out with 2 thoughts. One is remember, we've been promising this actually for years at this point, because it's crazy to think that we've been doing this podcast for years. Probably coming up on 2 years pretty soon. Would be my guess.
We're a few months away. Yeah. So
and so thinking about doing this, when we reach 50 reviews on Spotify, we're going to give away 1 free copy of Quacks of Quedlinburg. When we reach 50 reviews on Apple Podcasts, we're going to give away another copy of Quacks of Quedlinburg. We're at like 34 on Spotify, and we're at 38 on Apple. So, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you watch us on YouTube or you do this, we have actually hundreds of people that listen to this. If you just leave a review, it helps the podcast out. And we want to get you a copy of Quacks because they just reprinted it. So we won't even buy you the old copy. We'll buy the new one. You'll get some new art, new fun, the things Jason and I don't even have. So we'll buy it for you. It'll be great. 50.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. And then I'll tease you with the next top 10 list is going to be top 10 games that Jason and I have played together.
Yep.
Which is really, you talk about an episode that's going to go long and have a lot of laughter would be my guess. This would almost be like a perfect episode if we could get Elizabeth on as well. To just have like the whole crew, but maybe a future episode. So it's going to be a lot of memory shared, a lot of great times. And I'm very much looking forward to it. So we'll see you guys.
I'm going to cut you short. I'm sorry. I forgot about this earlier. We live in this interesting world in which how worlds collide. So like Hunter had his coffee break today, and I don't know if you watched it live, but basically Hunter, who's my boss, owns Foundation Disc Golf, does a live thing, and someone asked him to list all the podcasts that are associated. And so he did all the Foundation, but he said, well, also, I think Robbie and Jason still do Bards of the Board because I don't know what day it drops. And a guy who actually asked the question said, well, thanks, because that's the one I was asking about. So I want to say welcome to Weston Hoffman, who just subscribed today. And he was the one who, so Weston, thank you for asking Hunter about that. Thank you for subscribing. We truly appreciate it because I didn't catch it live. We caught it late, but then I saw the chat where he asked about it, and then I said, "Oh, thanks. That's the board game was one I was looking for." And so I eventually heard Hunter say that. So Weston, thanks for joining. Thanks for like going through Hunter to find us. We live in this awesome world where these things all cross over, and we're very thankful for it. So appreciate that.
Come on. Well, guys, we will see you next episode. Weston, you especially. We'll see you at the table. Y'all have a good one.
See ya.